Today we are going to do something a little fun. I am going to make some marmalade and thought you might enjoy making it with me. So I have a bunch of these cuties that are rather old, but I actually cut one open and it's still completely good and in fact even quite juicy. So I figure I will use these guys, and then my stepsister and her husband have a place down in Arizona near my mom's, and a couple trips ago when David and I were down there, she had dropped by and they had dropped off a box load of tangelos because they have a tangelo tree in their yard. So these things, I don't even really know how to describe what they taste like. I mean, no tangelo I've ever bought in the store tastes like this. It's just this amazing sweet tart. Oh, it's so, so good. Anyway, some of them are getting a little on the older side as well, so I thought I would make use of these to make some marmalade. Excuse me. I have made marmalade in the past, just using regular navel oranges. And there are a couple of different methods. I looked up a whole bunch of recipes actually this time too, just to see if anything new is out there. And but I think I'm going to go with my tried and true. So let's get started. I've already got these all washed. I have water on here to start heating up for canning. And yeah, we now need to get peeling some oranges. So there are a couple of different ways to go about this. Let me grab a smaller knife here. I should have cut this a little bit better. And when I've done it in the past with just navel oranges, I have actually peeled just the zest off. So basically going like this, maybe, and getting these strips of zest like this. It's a lot of work, and these are actually pretty thin skinned fruit. I mean, obviously the cuties are, but so are the tangerines. So what I'm thinking, and the reason that you normally do that is the pith is the thing that makes it bitter. Now, I do like some bitterness in my marmalade. I'm not one of those that doesn't. But since these are so thin, I am just going to boil them pith and all. So one of the ways when you're using an orange that has really thick pith, one of the ways to get rid of the bitterness is to do that, and peel them off like this, and then do this boiling method where you boil them in, so you bring 2 cups of water to boil, put the peels in there, boil it for 10 minutes, drain it, put 2 new cups of water in, boil it for another 10 minutes, drain it, and do it one more time. And then that gets rid of most of the bitterness from the pith. But since I'm doing these guys whole, I'm still going to do the boiling process, but I think it should take away enough of the bitterness that it'll be perfect. I don't know if any of that made sense. Anyway, so I'm just going to cut off all of these peels, and then we can get busy. And this method actually is from Jacques Papin, the famous French chef, and it's something that he discovered along his journey and has passed it on. And yes, we could just peel these normally, but the next step is to come in and actually remove the fruit from the membrane, so we don't have the membrane in there. And so I need to cut off the outside of it anyway. So might as well just do it this way and save a step. This one isn't so good. The peel is still fine, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. It's not that it's bad, it's just gotten a little dry. Some of these are not going to be usable. They're skin, but that's all right. I think I will have plenty. There are also recipes out there that have you literally put them into the oranges, cut up, and then put them into a food processor and just grind them all up and then sit in water overnight. And none of them specifically said that that helps with the bitterness, but I'm guessing that that's the idea. All right, now that we've got these all cut, they need to be cut into smaller strips. Well, guys, as I was cutting up the rinds or the peels, I managed to cut my finger rather badly. So I had to take a little break, and but we're back at it now. Everything's fine. Did not require a trip to the ER. Anyway, so my rinds or my peels are doing their first boil in here, and now we are just going to cut out the flesh of the oranges from the membrane. And it's really easy to see. You can see that white line there, and you just cut on either side of them and pop it out. Between the peeling and this and the boiling, this is a somewhat work-intensive and time-intensive project. Not as bad when you're making a small batch like this, but in the past I have made much larger batches and it's taken hours and hours. Alright, and then give the rest of it a good squeeze to get all that great juice out. And this is also a no pectin recipe, so it does also then have to cook down for quite some time. And the reason it's no pectin is because you don't need it. Oranges, in particular the pith of oranges, have quite a bit of pectin in them. So between the sugar and what is naturally in the fruit, you don't need to add any. I'm sure there are recipes that you can do with using pectin, which then would be much faster, but you also tend to have to use a lot more sugar when you use pectin. Although apparently if you use Pomona's pectin, you can make no sugar jams with that. I've never used it though. I do kind of wonder what the flavoring of it would be. If you guys have used Pomona's pectin, let me know what you thought of it. And if it's worth doing to have a truly sugar-free jam. All right. First boil is done, so just strain it out. Add fresh water and do it again. And you don't have to worry about the water coming back up to a boil before you put the peels back in. It just needs to go 10 minutes again on the heat. Okay, we have all of our good stuff here in this bowl. One of the other things that I did read though as I was looking at recipes today was somebody suggested to put all of this stuff, all of the membrane stuff, into some cheesecloth and put that in with it to boil because there's still definitely lots of pulp and juice in there and you just don't want the membrane. So I'm going to do that. Alright, let's see if I can get this open in one try. There we go. Alright. And you just want to make sure that this is well closed. So actually let's do this. All right, I'm just going to plop that in there. Give the cutting board one more quick wipe. And our peels are on their very last boil. And we'll just go ahead and use this same pan to cook it all down in. So I'll be back with you in probably 7 minutes. So I did actually get out my Ball Book of Home Preservation and looked up marmalade with them. So this calls for Seville oranges, but that's not something that I could even potentially get here. So we're going with what we had. It's 2 1/4 pounds Seville oranges, 2 clementine oranges, and 2 lemons. So I do have a lemon that I also was intending to add. And then it has 12.5 cups of hot water, 11.5 cups of granulated sugar. Holy cow. Yeah, no. Okay, so I don't think I have had that much oranges. So we're going to have the water and have the sugar because I think that's probably what I actually have in there, and just do 1 lemon. But this also has you tying up all the pulp and everything in the cheesecloth like this. So I'm definitely going to go for that. All right, so we're going to pour all of this in and all of that. And then we need 6 cups of water. I am just going to flop these in here like this, and I will take them out when it's all done doing its thing. So we're supposed to bring this up to a boil, and I just lost my page. Bring it up to a boil, and boil gently, stirring occasionally until peel is tender and mixture is reduced by nearly half, about an hour and a half. And I think, so you don't add the sugar yet, because I think that if you add the sugar now, the peels will not get any softer. That's a little bit of a guess, but some of the other recipes that I was reading, they said that too. Don't put the sugar in until your peels are to the softness that you want them to be. So we're gonna go with that. We're gonna bring this up to a boil and come check it every little once in a while and sit on the couch with a glass of wine and for an hour and a half. All right, I'm not sure that we've completely reduced by half, but it's a little hard to tell. So I'm just going to go with it and say we have. All right, we're going to let that drain in there. Give it a little bit of help. Maybe not breaking my spoon. I'm going to take my lemon slices out too. We're going to let that sit there and drain for a second. And then it was, I think it said 11 and a half, right? 96. 11 and a half. So we're going to do 5. 5 cups of sugar. Which still seems like a whole lot of sugar to me, but let's also see what we're supposed to do after we add this sugar. All right, so bring the mixture to a boil. All right, already done it wrong. Stirring constantly, maintaining a boil, gradually stir in sugar. And then boil hard, stirring occasionally until mixture reaches gel stage, about 15 minutes. And then if gel stage has been reached, add brandy if using and boil, stirring frequently for 2 minutes, skim off foam, ladle hot marmalade into hot jars. All right, well, let's get it up to a boil. I suppose I should probably just add this now. While we're waiting for this to come up to a boil, I'm going to put a small plate in the freezer so that we can test it when we think it's done. I did read on one of the recipes, I think they said to bring it up to 220, but I don't remember now, and now I can't find that recipe, so we're just going to go with the freezer method. And a half. So now bring back up to a hard boil and stirring occasionally. I do want to get all this sugar off the bottom first. There we go. All right, let's boil hard for 15 minutes. Pretty certain there is zero chance that this is ready, but let's see what happens. Yeah, I don't think so. Although it's more set than I thought it would be. So we're gonna let it go longer. Well, it got a little late last night and the marmalade was still not setting. So I shut it all down and we are back at it again this evening. We are at 200, we just hit 220 degrees. So let us test it again and see if we are finally there. If 220 is the magic number or not. It seems like it actually should be less than 220 here because our water boils at a lower temperature. But it's not looking like it's ready to set. Still pretty runny. All right, we'll let it go for a couple more minutes. Maybe 225. I actually think it is. When I just tested it again, I put my finger in it and it was actually still warm. So now that it is fully cool, it is pretty much set. So, and this like foamy stuff that's on here now is also a good indication that it's right and ready to go. So I'm going to turn this off. Actually, I think this water's boiling now. It is. In my canner, so my jars have been in there and are nice and hot, so we can get this into jars. Yay! Well, I'm just not doing very well with my whole pushing the record button this time around, but we are getting this into the jars, and it looks like we should have almost 3 pints. Probably won't be able to can this last one. It is not going to be full enough. It needs to be 1/4 inch headspace. I'll get the other spoon again. However, I really want to, I found a recipe for a marmalade muffin, actually from the same website that I got this recipe from. Well, originally, I actually ended up using the recipe in the ball book, but maybe I'll be able to can it. We're really close. But I'm going to open it anyway, because I want to make this marmalade muffin recipe, and so I think I'm going to do that for breakfast tomorrow. They are a beautiful color. Actually, I think I might need to take some out of, yeah, these are not close enough. All right, now where are we? There we go. Perfect. All right, let me get a damp paper towel to wipe these off. And as always, you want nice clean rims before you put your lids on. Ooh, those are hot. And Just check for any chips. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. And even though we don't really need to wipe the rim, might as well get the stickiness off of it. And actually, probably this will end up sealing just because of the heat that's in here. However, that is not a safe seal, so it will not be shelf stable. I did need to add a little bit of water to this guy since I'm only putting 2 jars instead of the 5 that were in there, but we should be good now. So this just needs to come up to a boil, and then it calls for processing time of 10 minutes. So because of our elevation, we are going to do 20 once it boils. Lid on and off we go. Jar is a little warm, but that is what it looks like. Isn't that just a gorgeous color? Love it. So now I need to, it's a little warm, get these dishes done, and we will be done with this little project. I think I will, however, bring you back when I make the muffins, because I think that would be fun. So once these are all finished processing and it is nice and bright and early tomorrow morning, we will make some marmalade muffins together. All right, see you soon. I do just want to show you guys this after my fudge debacle, with my thermometer clearly not working well at all. David got me a ThermaPen Pro that has a digital display for candy making. So I love it. It's amazing. Good morning, guys. It's not bright and early, but it is morning at least this time. So we are going to make our marmalade muffins, and they are from meticulous.com website. And we are going to start with 8 tablespoons of butter that we need to get melted. So I'm just going to chop it up into some little pieces and get it in the microwave. I have found that if I don't chop butter into pieces and just stick a whole stick in there like that, it blows up. And then butter gets everywhere. So I try not to do that anymore. And I also just stick that over it just in case. After that, we need our dry ingredients, which is 2 cups of flour. She does not give weight measurements, so we will be doing the fluff and scoop method. Need to refill my flour bin, apparently. And I don't know if I ever talked about this before. The reason I'm doing it this way is because when you kind of just dig into flour, it compacts pretty easily. And this way, you know that you're actually just getting the real amount and you're not putting too much flour into your batter. All right. Then we need baking powder, baking soda, and salt. All right, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I will admit, this does say that you should be sifting this, but I'm not going to. Just use a whisk, it will be fine. I should make sure this is baking powder, yep. And just a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Oh, and sugar. Just 2 tablespoons. And I think that's because we are using the marmalade, so we don't need a lot of sugar because that has a lot of sugar in it. All right. And then we will just give this a good whisk. I'm going to need this guy too. All right, let's just go check on the butter. That still needs a few minutes, so I grabbed our marmalade out of the fridge. And let me give this a good wash so we can zest it. Butter is melted. I'm just going to put the rest of the wet ingredients in here as well. So we need 2/3 of a cup of orange juice. Actually, you know what? I'm going to zest this first because I'm going to squeeze the juice and use that for part of my freshly squeezed. So we need a tablespoon. I'm actually going to put it just in with the flour. All right, I'm not going to actually measure it. I'm going to just say that that's close enough to a tablespoon. Let's cut this guy in half. And see how much juice we can get from him. And then we'll just supplement with bottled orange juice. I'm sure there's a better way to squeeze oranges. Oh, I guess I could use my little round guy, but too late now. These oranges were fairly old, so they weren't going to be all that juicy anyway. Let's see, we got about a 1/4 of a cup. Going to add that to our butter, which is a little warm, so that should help hopefully cool it down before we put our eggs in there. My girls actually are laying now. However, I still have a few of my last store-bought eggs that I have, so still going through those, but aren't they pretty? Aren't they pretty? Yay. I heard them out there squawking away this morning, which was pretty cute, which means they're laying their eggs. All right, and I believe we need some vanilla. It also calls for imitation butter flavoring, which I do not have, and yeah, it's kind of an odd thing to add. I don't think I've ever seen that in a recipe. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon. Yes, it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of imitation butter flavoring. It's just very odd. Those are probably more than a 1/2 teaspoon, but that's okay. And then we need a 1/2 cup of our marmalade. Which turned out with a beautiful consistency. And I'm dropping it on the floor. Get this in here too. This is going to be nice and orangey. Okay. Probably should have used a bigger container for this. That's okay. All right, so 2 large eggs, butter, marmalade, vanilla extract, orange juice, orange zest. And then we just combine them all together. gently mix it all. Don't want to overwork your any quick bread muffin batter. It doesn't get tough. So you want to make sure we get everything from the bottom. All right. Oh, it smells so good. And it says it only makes 8, which seems like not very much to me, but we'll go with it. See how far we get. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And that is our oven ready. I find it's easiest to use one of these guys to get these scooped out. Wow, this is very light and fluffy batter. Yeah, it's definitely going to make more than 8. So I do want to add a little bit too. Guys. And you don't have to use paper liners. You could just use, grease your pan. I just find it easier and less cleanup to use the liners. What do you think? This one? Let me get a scraper. I cannot stand leaving any little bit batter in the bowl. Always used to drive me crazy. I used to love watching Food Network, and it drove me crazy that they would leave stuff in the bottom of bowls. Or like, actually the thing that drove me the most crazy was when they were sifting something and they wouldn't push the final little grains like that hadn't gone through. Like just that you're supposed to use that. Drove me crazy. Anyway, I am a scrape the bowl kind of girl. And I don't know. Okay. All right. Let's get that guy cleaned up. And these are going to go into the oven. I was supposed to mix a final tablespoon of butter and 2 tablespoons of brown sugar together and sprinkle that on the top, but I don't really want that. I don't need the extra sugar, so we're just gonna put these in just like this. And the oven is at 435. It calls for it to be at 425, but I always raise our temperature just a little bit for our elevation. So it's supposed to be in there at 425 for 5 minutes and then reduce the heat to 375 for another 15, which seems like a lot. But she also said only 8 muffins, so maybe she has bigger muffin tins than I do. So I will probably check them more at like 10 minutes, so it would be 15 minutes total. And I'll reduce the oven to 385. All right, let's set a timer and have some muffins very soon. All right, the timer has gone off for 10 minutes. Oh, no, maybe they're okay. Yep, they are done. All right, we are going to pull these out. Oh, they look beautiful, though. Let's just check this one guy. Yep. All right, look at that. Gorgeous. And look at my oven. Isn't it beautiful? Our house cleaner cleaned it for us yesterday, and she did an amazing job. Turn that off now. And let's get these guys out of here. Probably could let them cool a little bit more in here, but I'm impatient. definitely glad that I checked them at 10 minutes instead of the 15, because they definitely would have been overbaked. All right, I am going to let these cool a little bit before I break into one, but I'll let you know how they taste in just a couple minutes. All right, I couldn't wait. We're going to break into this right now. I think I waited a sum total of, I don't know, 45 seconds. So it's still very hot. I always forget that I really should spray the liners when I use them. Next time. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of butter on these. All right, let's give this bad boy a taste. Oh, those are lovely. They're super light, but very, very orangey. Oh, super fluffy. And they're not super sweet either, which is great. Oh, yeah, I'm going to enjoy these thoroughly. I did just want to show you too how the ones that we actually jarred up and canned turned out. So they are beautiful as well. Just get those labeled and they can go on the shelf. Actually, I think I'm probably going to bring one of these down for Mom so she can enjoy it as well. So there we go, orange marmalade and some orange marmalade muffins for our breakfast for the next little while. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. I would love to see you back. Everybody, you have a great morning and rest of your day. Bye.